half guard. He's got my leg trapped here. This is troublesome for me for a variety of reasons. What do I want to do in this position? Well, obviously what I want to do is free my leg and move to side control and mount. But the problem is I have to do a bunch of other things first. Namely, I need to keep him flat and I need to control him. Okay, so this is sort of our standard half guard position where most people will grab head and arm control, shoulder pressure into the jaw, and then they'll do various different positions with their outside legs. Some people bring it in close to the body, some people keep it splayed out. It really depends who you're grappling against. But one thing that happens here a lot is people like to play this head and arm, but the person on the bottom, especially if they're strong, they make this really sharp frame across the throat. And this can give you a lot of trouble. So what do you do if you can't keep the person flat because this is driving into your neck? This is actually one of my favorite positions to shift out of. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use this opportunity to pick up his shoulder and his arm on this side. I'm gonna relinquish my crossface, and then I'm gonna swim. So my hips, my chest, everything turns as I scoop and control this arm. Now my control position here, I really like to have my armpit over the shoulder. I like to have my forearm shelved under his elbow, and then I like to grab the belt. This is my anchor point. You can make some pretty serious mistakes in this position. Floating too high, I think, is more preferential. This is not necessarily a mistake, but moving too low, getting closer to the hip to hip and elbow to elbow position, I can get swept or framed away very easily from here. So I don't want to play hip to hip. I want to think about having the left side of my rib cage super heavy through his chest. Okay, so you can see my left arm position here. Now what about this arm? I like to use this grip on the pants as a steering wheel. This is a great grip because I can push, I can pull, and I can steer him left and I can steer him right. I like this grip a lot. So I've got my control point set up, but I also want to make sure that I'm just brutally heavy on him from this position. So how do I do that? Well, if my elbow's sitting really heavy on the mat right here, that's weight that I'm taking off of him. Likewise, on the far side, which you probably can't see, if my knee and my hip and my leg are resting heavily on the mat, there's also weight that I'm taking off of my partner on the bottom. So what you want to think about doing from here is making yourself so heavy that the person gets very, very desperate. So look, I'm going to take and float my elbow off the mat here. I'm going to float my knee and my leg off the mat on the other side. So my only points of contact are going to be the left side of my rib cage on his chest and then my toes on the mat. So I go from here to here. Now it doesn't look much different from the outside, but I promise you the person on the bottom feels totally suffocated when I do that. So here's where I set up. This is my control position, okay? So I've got a good post to the backside with really both my legs. I've got a good steering wheel control in the pant here, and I've taken away the usefulness of his frame against my throat just by sitting through and changing my angle, okay? So when we get to this position, my favorite thing to do, in addition to just making the person feel very desperate with this crush through the left side of my rib cage, is I want to actually pretend like he might have a window to bridge me to the far to my near side here. So I'm just going to roll my weight to the right a little bit. I'm going to wait for that bridge to come. When it does, I remove that leg, I back step and stomp the mat, and I settle his bridge by pushing right back into him. Now the last thing that will help me control somebody who really wants to scramble is after I back step and after I drive my weight into him, I'll change my steering wheel control from far side leg and I'll hook the near side leg. And that allows me to turn the hip. And now he's in a really bad way because he's still smashed flat up top, but his hips are twisted away. This is one of the most uncomfortable positions in grappling. All right, so the other reason I like this position a lot is because in addition to mitigating the pressure of like a really strong frame across my neck, which is very uncomfortable, if he gets an underhook on this side, a lot of people think, well, what do I gotta repummel for this underhook. I have to dig back in here. If you're good at this sit-through style of half guard, you don't have to repummel here. Instead, I'm just going to use that position to flatten him out again. So the underhook is just a means to an end. I'm using the underhook so I can put pressure on him and put his shoulder down in the mat. But if the underhook is unavailable, if it's too tight, before he can get too much on his side, I'm just going to do the same sit through I did before. I'm going to remove my crossface. I'm going to turn my hips in my chest. I'm going to swim. And I'm going to anchor to his belt. Forearm under elbow, armpit over shoulder. And I'm here. So this is great for mitigating the pressure of the crossface, that chop across my neck, but then also when the underhook comes, this is still a position where I can keep him very flat. And once again, when we get here, we roll that weight heavy into the chest. We have our steering wheel on the far side, pant grip here, and then everything comes off the mat. Elbow, knees, everything goes into the left side of my rib cage. And if at any point in time he's open or he bridges in. I have an opportunity to step out, plant that foot, use that to bridge back in, punch this grip away. But if you have somebody who's like got really good scrambling ability and they have a very flexible lower back, he'll still be able to turn his hips over, which is when I have to scoop under the near side leg. So I'm going from this pant grip closer to you guys, and I'm swimming here. And I'm picking up the pant grip on the near side. I'm just gonna punch it toward the camera, but look, I'm keeping him flat up top. Okay, so he's pinned up top, but the hip is twisted in a very uncomfortable way. And I end up here. Okay, so I've got my 3 points for my pass, and I can continue attacking.